Hey folks, welcome back to the kitchen here at Mark Kelly Farm. I know we've been in the kitchen a lot lately, but the weather's not conducive to working in the garden. It's actually raining today. So we're going to do some more inside stuff for you. So we need to make some stuff for dinner, and if you remember, we have those 2 jars of tomatoes in the fridge that were extra when we canned those tomatoes. So we need to use those up, and I thought what I could use those for, and then I remembered we could make some Swiss steak. So that's what we're going to make for you. Stick around and we'll show you how we make it. Now, Swiss steak is something I made a lot when I was young. When I was at home by myself, when I wasn't in school, like on the summertime and stuff like that, my mom and dad both worked. We always had plenty of beef because we lived on a dairy. So I would make Swiss steak a lot. I would get the crock pot out and I would get the cube steak and put it all together. And then by the time mom and dad came home and we were having supper, we'd have dinner on the table. So they always appreciated that. And it was something easy that I could make, just basically dump it all in the pot. So the process has changed a little bit now that I know a little bit more about cooking than when I did when I was a kid. So we'll run you through the process I use now. So we picked up some cube steak at the store. Usually it's just round steak that they run through a tenderizer. And we're going to make a double batch so Kelly's got plenty to take to work and stuff. So we start out with some seasoned flour. Whatever seasoned flour you like using. I usually use a cup of flour to a tablespoon of my favorite seasoning, but you can do whatever you like. We have some oil heating up in our Dutch oven, probably about 1/4 cup's worth, and then we have a pan to put our cooked steak on. So we're going to not overload the pan. We're probably going to fry these 2 or 3 at a time, and then once they're done, they're going to be put in there, and then we'll just do more as we go till we get all of these done. These cuts are huge, so I was only able to get one in the pot. Now, I never browned these when I was young. Never breaded them and never browned them, so they were probably always kind of bland back in the day, but I didn't matter. But by browning these with the seasoned flour, you're going to get a lot more flavor because they're browned, and with that seasoned flour. And that flour will actually help thicken up the sauce that they cook in when they cook later. While our steaks are cooking over there, we're going to mix up half of our sauce. And this would actually be for one recipe. I forgot to mention, one recipe calls for about 2.5 pounds of meat. So we'll give you the ingredients for one recipe here. So in our pan here, we've got 1 jar of our tomatoes. I've already dumped the first jar in there. We've got 3 cloves worth of minced garlic, 1 cup of broth. Doesn't matter if it's beef or chicken, doesn't matter. 1 whole tablespoon of Worcestershire, which we've already got in there. 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, and 1/2 teaspoon of our smoked paprika. So we're going to stir all that up. So we'll have a little bit to deglaze our pan, and then once we start layering, we'll mix up our other batch of sauce, just a duplicate recipe. Alright, I paused about halfway through because our stuff on the bottom of the pan was starting to get a little thick and I did not want it to burn. So I deglazed with a little bit of water, but we didn't waste it. I just poured it in our sauce over here because I do not want to lose that flavor. So I put some new oil in and we'll fry the rest of our meat and then we'll get this thing going. Alright, we've got everything fried. We deglazed the bottom of the pot, and I usually just lay it in there, all the meat in there flat, but this time I kind of laid them on edge so all the liquid can kind of get in there and all of the meat will kind of cook evenly at the same time once we get it into the oven. We're preheating our oven to 350 degrees. So we're going to start layering some chopped onions in here, and then we'll start pouring the sauce in. Alright, we got in all the onions. We tucked them all down in between the meat. We made up another batch of sauce, poured it all in after the second batch, or the first batch, and then we just sprinkled some more onions on top. We're already up to a simmer, so we're going to go ahead and throw this into our 350 degree oven. It's ready to go. This is going to cook for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And then in our oven, I have a pan down on the bottom rack in case we bubble over a little bit. It'll fall onto that foil-lined cookie sheet. All right, we got it in the oven, so we got time to do some cleanup here in the kitchen. And then about an hour, maybe an hour and a half before Kelly gets home and we have dinner, we're going to make some real fancy potatoes to go with this. Well, it's about an hour before dinner. The Swiss steak smells amazing. You can smell it wafting out of the oven. So we're going to start on our potatoes. So we've got these little mini Yukon Gold potatoes. We've got them in water. Put a little salt in the water. We're going to simmer these until they are fork tender, and then we'll show you what we're going to do next. Our potatoes were fork tender. We took them out. What we're making is called smashed potatoes. And yes, I said smashed, not mashed, because we're just going to smash them and then do some other little magic with them. So all you want to do is barely smash your potatoes just to where they break open. You don't want them to push all the way through your masher, because then they'll stick to it. So you're going to end up with a whole cookie sheet here of smashed potatoes. And then we'll show you what we're going to do next. All right, we got 1 stick or half a cup of softened butter. We leave the butter out on the counter here so it stays soft as we need it. And then to that we added about 1/8 of a cup, or that would be about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. And then once I get this mixed, we're going to microwave it for like 15 seconds just to get it a little more loose. And then we're going to brush it all over these beautiful potatoes. All right, got our garlic butter here. Just going to work it over all these potatoes, making sure we cover fairly evenly. And once we get it done, we'll show you the next trick. Look at that. Now we're going to stop there. No. Little pepper. Kelly's brother got us the salt and pepper dispenser. You turn them upside down, they automatically come on. Alright, that's enough pepper. Let's go with the salt. Salt comes out a little bit faster. Potatoes need more salt than you think. Potatoes can take a lot. So are we done now? No. There we go. You knew I was going to do that, right? So you don't want to just completely cover this thing with cheese. You want to be able to see the potatoes through it. You don't want a big cheesy mess. So what we're going to do, our Swiss steak is done. We're going to pull it out of the oven. We are going to put the oven on broil. Then we're going to throw this in there, and we're going to let this get all melty and kind of crispy even on top. And then they'll be done. There is our smashed potatoes fresh out of the broiler. There's our Swiss steak right there. And a little bit of asparagus. Let's serve all this up. There we go, folks. Isn't that amazing? That steak is fork tender. It was hard to get one out without it falling apart. And then if the potatoes weren't sinful enough, we've got some sour cream. And then on our asparagus, we have some little bit of sriracha mayo. Look at that. Well, my tongue is about ready to beat me to death, so I need to get at this dinner. Hope you enjoyed our video. Highly suggest you make this super good. I haven't made this dish in like 30 years, if you can believe that. It's been that long. So just takes a little bit of inspiration with some leftover tomatoes, I guess. So till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Come back and see us here on Mark Kelly Farm.